Alright, what's going on? 3.9 league start, Carrion Golem Necromancer. I've heard a ton of reviews about Carrion Golem being good this league. I've yet to see a good build for it. So that was my path for the past 3 days. Figure out how we're going to take Carrion Golem to the tippy tops of minion supremacy on the leaderboards. So let's talk about this build. I've been sick literally since the league's reveal trailer. So no content for 3.19 yet. This is all I've been working on though. Is this path of building. So this is the Giga damage crit fizz stacking edition. If you like this, remember to like, subscribe, comment, go down below, roast the build. If you think it's terrible, you could be right, probably right. And check out my Twitch. We'll be streaming live. This is the build we're going with. Carrion Golem to the top. All right. Where do I want to start with this is we're just going to start with some leveling, right? I took the extra 15 minutes to make little leveling tree guides so people don't get confused. Two things about leveling is basically you're going to run absolution, zombies, summon skeletons. This is all the normal cheap minion stuff until you get to the golem part. The big key here is be ready to switch. Have the golem wheel up here, right here, ready to go. We're gonna need that extra one golem. That's just like double damage until you can get more golems, so it's good. And the other big part is to get the overwhelm physical damage mastery before you make the switch. This is basically a 30% DPS increase. It is insane. It's the hands down best mastery for any physical minion build. Make sure to click that one. So yeah, leveling guides here. Level 1. This is like this base tree. I always rush for sacrifice early. It's pretty much the only way to get regen on your minions, and it's really annoying having to resummon raise zombies every time. So I rush for this. Enduring Bond's good. All the stuff's good. Second one, this is basically where you want to be at for switching to Carrion Golem, your first Ascendancy point, which are going to go to Mindless Aggression. Just the biggest DPS increase. We're just trying to get through the axe. And then leveling 3 is basically where you want to be at for the start of maps. I'm going to go with the controversial choice here of I've taken Unnatural Strength the second. I know that it's bad, but if you look at these numbers, you can see it's doing about 20-25%. It gets lower as we add more other nodes. We're doing about 25% more DPS with this, even after the nerf and being completely different. And we'll show why on the end game tree. All right, let me be the first off saying these total DPS numbers probably pretty inflated, but I don't think it's out of the question. This can, depending on the price of uniques, this could be a pretty attainable build. So let's jump into it. I want to go straight from the top. This is like the end game version of the tree. I think there's a little bit of room to play around with. We'll touch on that later. And let's just jump into it. So first of all, unnatural strength changes. I want to go over the ascendancies we're using on this. We're going to use unnatural strength, bone barrier, and commander of darkness. And you're going to say, oh, why aren't you using Mystery of Sacrifice? Everybody uses Mystery of Sacrifice, right? This isn't a block build. We're having minions do all the work. We're using all permanent minions. The minions are doing all the work on this build. So, and the only real other reason, if I'm not doing any damage, for me to take Mystery of Sacrifice would be to get my block chance up with Bone Offering. I'm not using Bone Offering. So, Mystery of Sacrifice, Bone Barrier is great. We'll just have us on our left click. It'll replace Molten Shell. Remember, you can't use this and Molten Shell. They're both guard skills. Their cooldowns overlap. So, no Molten Shells. Bone Barrier, better. And then Commander of Darkness, just all around good. We are doing some elemental damage too. So, but we get plus 30 all res. Minions deal 30% increased damage, and we're using a bunch of auras, so we should get pretty good benefit from the attack and cast speed. That's good. Good. That's the tree. I think anything else is just like I've seen some people like Plaguebringer. I don't think this does a lot for you. And Mr. Zacharias, if you want to use a shield on this build, then you could talk about Bone Offering, but I think it's not great. Not great. Not what the build's trying to do. Alright. Skills. I left some of these open too. I left some, like we aren't even using all of our skills yet. I just kind of left it going. Our main 6 link, is I'm doing the Summon Carrion Golem and Raise Zombie together on our 6th link with melee fizz, minion damage, ruthless, and multi-strike. First comment that someone will say here is, hey, where's your brutality? Brutality is really good with fizz. Why aren't you using brutality? It doesn't work with Unholy Might. It doesn't work with the new Unnatural Strength. You use brutality, you don't get this. This is just doing nothing for your main build. Do not use brutality with this. But you also can't use Raise and Pillage. So yeah, let's not do that. Let's just not do that, right? Again, this is still a huge damage increase. It's not as good. Obviously, it was doing like 70% extra DPS when it was +2 minion gems, but it's still good. It still scales off fizz. So trust me, I tested it. This is better than using brutality all the way around. So that's our main setup. The other setup is pretty classic here. Raise Spectre, Animate Guardian, linked with Maim and Feeding Frenzy. We're gonna get our Maim stacks here, and our Feeding Frenzy bonus from these guys. Good. Animate Guardian, we'll touch on a little bit kind of what we're using there. Spectres, we're gonna be still using the Power Charge and Frenzy Charge, and then Arena Master are the best, I think. And then we will have room for a 4th one eventually. You can choose what you want to use there. Power charges are going to be the most important, so maybe 2 host chieftains, but we have permanent minions, so it shouldn't be much of a problem. Alright. The rest of these are pretty much... I'm going to move this one up here. The rest of these are pretty much all auras, utility, stuff like that, so... This is where it starts to get interesting. We're going to be using Precision, linked to Precision, Dread Banner, and Val Haste, linked to Generosity. We're only using the Val version of Haste. We don't have the mana to use it fully. We go red for reserve mana. Obviously, this is a huge DPS increase while it's up. This button you have to click. There's not many buttons you have to click in this build, though, so, I can manage one. Alright. Convocation, gotta be in here. We need to be able to pull our minions to us. These minions are going to be fast, let me tell you, with haste and a bunch of movement speed nodes. They're going to be fast. Assassin's Mark for bosses, and vulnerability, essentially for bosses as well. Honestly, we're probably just going to use Assassin's Mark. I don't think we need to use vulnerability. Use vulnerability for packs, probably an Assassin's Mark for bosses. Just have them both. Use them as needed. And then Vitality. I just slapped this on here at the end just as a slot filler. Basically keep this level as low enough so that you have enough mana. It's not necessary at all. You could do something else. But so our 2 auras are going to be always on, Determination and Pride. We're stacking armor. And then Pride is just, they take more fizz damage. We turn this off. You can see our total DPS goes down like 2 million. So yeah, we want that on. And then I have Flesh Offering on right now. This will be Spirit Offering and does more damage. Just haven't tweaked it yet. POE isn't updated with the new gems. So lastly, Flame Dash, Life Tap, and you can link something else here too. Fine, but this is just for a movement. We're not using a shield, so no shield charge. And then Bone Armor we are getting from the tree. This is again our left click, using it on cooldown. So that's our skills overview. And let's jump into the gear, because I think there's been a lot of stuff going around that I think is just wrong. First off, I have Convoking Wands in. I've tested this with Clay Shapers, Cold Iron Points, and Convoking Wand. I want to touch on this really quick. If we put Clay Shapers in, our DPS obviously goes down, but we get 2 more Summon Carrion Golems. Go back to our skills. Up our Carrion Golems. Sweet, that looks good, right? 10 million DPS. Full DPS. Okay. Back to our account. Go back to our items. Poking Wand. We have to go back, and then we get 2 less Carrion Golems. So it is less. It is less. But it has better scaling. These are not perfect Convoking Wands. These are average Convoking Wands. They have plus 1 level all spell gems, plus 1 spell, plus 1 minion. 49% damage, pretty average. Increased attack and cast speed, pretty average. You say, well, that's great, but I think Clay Shaper's gonna be quite expensive. I think you're gonna be able to get a pretty decent Convoking one, and then you go, oh, these are like high-end Convoking ones. True, but they're pretty easily craftable. I decided to bring that up here. So this is the craft. If you've never seen it before, it's almost like, it's not guaranteed, but it's like 1 in 12 tries. For 4 fossils, prime resonators, you look over here. The only things you can roll are the skill gems, increased damage, and spells on prefixes. Then all the good minion stuff's still available. Like, you can roll into these, and I think the biggest part here is Convoking Wands can have the trigger craft, so you don't have to cast Desecrate, Spirit Offering over and over and over. Just saving some hand speed. Good time. Okay. That's our items. Bow and helmet. Important to remember, this will have +2 level of all gems in it eventually. And then we're just stacking armor. I just kind of added some stuff in. Ashes of the Stars, this is not mandatory. Probably need to anoint charisma if you're not using it though, for the reservation efficiency. And you're probably gonna want to look for +1 level of all physical gems. Necklace with some life and ES and whatnot. Darkstone Throne, super cheap. Biggest thing on these items here, I think, is going to be the new Ghastly Eye Jewels. So, like, maximum life, that stuff's still the same. Increased damage, use minion person, that's still the same, but they're still very good. Big thing here is this is tier 1 minions deal additional physical damage. These are getting about a 50% upgrade from here. These things are doing, like, add, like, 17% DPS in the Darkstone Throne, and then just by themselves are about 10% DPS. So these are really, really good. This used to be a pretty bad roll, but if you're stacking Fizz, very, very good. You'll see I have the Bottled Faith in here. It's not doing anything right now. I can literally turn it off. It's not adding anything. I decided that would be too much of an inflated number. So the unique jewels, though, this is where it's going to get interesting. These are going to be pretty expensive. I think you'll have to use Clay Shapers until you get the Anima Stone and the other primordials that you need to do 2 harmonies and 1 might. Seems to have the most increase. Cluster jewels, we'll get into those later. Not shocking there. One's Raise and Pillage. Both of them have Vicious Bite though. Vicious Bite is going to be key with stacking crit on these minions. Okay. Jump in, we talk to our specters. I want to show how this build scales super well. I have nothing turned on right now, basically. So Onslaught, we're gonna have we're either gonna anoint Ravenous Horde or we're gonna find a way to get here so that we can basically give our minions Onslaught for most of the map. Oops. So we can go back to our calcs or our configurations. We can turn Onslaught on. You can see we're gaining like a ton of DPS. This will be the, if I go back and turn on once we get a Bottled Faith. This is gonna be huge actually. This is gonna increase our crit. So we can go and say they're on Consecrated Ground, we're using Bottled Faith. Just Giga numbers. And the big things are over here actually. So our helmet's gonna have +2 all minion skill gems. This is the new craft. You know, everyone have socketed. It's +2 all. Basically, we just get unnatural strength now without having to use a slot for it. So we turn that on. That is like just like a 20% DPS increase. Huge. Kingmaker is even better on this build now because we actually get to use the +2% crit multi buff. That's another like 10% DPS increase. So that line here usually was unused for like Skelly mages didn't really focus on crit very much. So if we're focusing on crit, this gets a lot better. And then the last thing I'll mention is I'm not even factoring in bone rings at all. Bone rings are going to save us a lot of things here. So the base type is minions have plus 13 all res. Now why is that important? Go back to our tree. We have our plus all res. We probably won't need to use Indomitary or this wheel. The fizz reduction is nice, but we're running determination. We don't really need this. Bleeding doesn't cause minions take extra damage. We're using bone armor, which gives bleed immunity. So this isn't really needed either. So if we don't need this wheel, that'd be pretty nice. And we still have max ally res. So that's big just from the base type. The other thing on here is that we don't really know all of the mods yet. The one example we've been shown is move speed and minions deal increased damage. Increased damage was possible with essences before. So that's not huge. But I think the one that I'm most interested in is going to be minions deal additional damage. If we can get fizz stacking from these rings, that might only drop from reflections where they give like a lot of fizz. It'd be really, really good. Like really, really good for this build. I haven't even begun touching them or putting them in the POB just because we don't know enough. It's not really, wouldn't really be fair. That'd be really, really nice. So that's where I'm at with this build. I'll share the POB down below. But I do want to mention the downsides quick because they're going to come out in the comments. It's all happens every time. Not very tanky. This is going to be a life ES hybrid build. See, just with like some really garbage tier gear, we're talking like around 5k total life ES. Hopefully Divine Shield's going to carry the build. We're going to have a lot of armor. We're going to prevent fizz. And just hopefully live off our Divine Shield. Really, with all the minions we have and them zooming around the map, we shouldn't be anywhere close to a minion. So that's the plan there. But yeah, I think from here, play around with this POB. I think there's a lot of things that can be upgraded. A lot of people go CI with this build. That's obviously not viable for League start. I think the sacrifice wheel can probably go away once you get Righteous Army instead. You can get rid of this whole wheel. You can connect things differently. You don't need to link through here. Yeah, play around with it. I think there's really good chance this is the best build of the league, at least for League starter. Could make the price of all the uniques needed for it really expensive, but a chance I'm willing to take. I think it's pretty good without them. The only big problem that will come from League starting this will be if all the Primordial Jewels and Clay Shaper are really expensive. I think then we'll have a problem with not having enough golems. But we'll leave it there for now. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, roast the build down below. Feels great. So thanks for watching.